United with just 2 points from their opening 14 games. West Bromwich Albion have made the change. Sam Allardyce has come in with them inside the bottom three with just 7 points. Fulham look to have regained a little bit of form, 10 points. Brighton probably started better and have faded slightly. They're 12. Burnley in 13. Where should we draw the line here? Probably just above 15. You draw the line there? Does that seem about right, Righty?
Let's draw the line at 16.
Look, are Arsenal having to look over their shoulders?
Yeah, because when you look where they are, you look at like Brighton. I think that you look at the games coming up. I think it's Brighton and West Brom. Those are must-win games. They're must-win games
because it's the teams around them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what Arsenal fans, what we've got to understand at the moment is that we're where we are, and we have to recognise it's the realisation of where we are at the moment. And what we've got to also look at is the players in the dressing room. Do they realise what's going on? I watched Burnley the other day beat Wolves, and it was a performance from a team that know where they are and how to.
But they're familiar with it.
Absolutely,
absolutely.
And this is what I'm saying with Arsenal. There's not many players. I think Aubameyang in Jurgen's last season in Dortmund, he might have been flirting with it, but in the end they got out of it no problem. I think Cedric Suarez at Southampton had a time where they were struggling for a bit. There's not much in that dressing room. There's not many, I should say, in that dressing room that know about the situation they are now facing. And it's a time where Arsenal are not creating enough. I have to say, from my point of view with the manager, the players he's picking now, I think that the youngsters, people like Emile Smith-Rowe, Joe Willock and those guys, I'd like to see them have a chance now to play simply because you're looking at the Willians, it's not happening. It's not playing well. I'm saying, why are you playing people like Kolasinac? Why are you playing someone like Mustafi? I'd rather see Saliba, who's playing in the under-23s. I'd rather see Emile Smith-Rowe. I'd rather see something different than him, and this is what I will say to him, to see those players that we need to be moving on. I would say, people upstairs, whatever it is, give Ozil the money if you're not going to play him and move him on. Same with Kolasinac. Same with those players that are now in and around the club that are not going to contribute right now, because that's what he needs, players who are contributing. At the moment, Arsenal have to realise they're in a situation what can get worse. And if they do lose those games, the Brightons, who will be looking forward to playing them, West Brom, under Big Sam, will be looking forward to playing them. Those games are must-win games.
The thing is, in Mikel Arteta, he came in and made an impact at Arsenal, and the Arsenal fans said, we see what this plan is. We know what he's doing. There's room for steps back in this, but we see broadly where it's going. The problem with an inexperienced manager in this situation, though, is if you have senior players who aren't performing, if you are on a bad run of results, you don't have that experience to draw. And even though he does have as a player and as an assistant manager, is that an issue for Arsenal at the moment? Yeah,
in this current predicament. From the recruitment and Edu, whatever they're doing there at the moment is like ridiculous.
It's not good enough.
It is a terrible recruitment policy what they have. Don't spread the money around. See the kids, what are going to cost you nothing. You might have to give them a new contract here or there. Recognise the ones, and you've got to now and the end of the season to recognise who's good enough, and then you can bring in some make the difference players. Save your money to make the difference players, and real target recruitment. But speak to the manager. Let Mikel tell you what he needs, the ones he likes, the ones he's going to improve. Don't go and bring in someone just because he's available. Don't go and bring in a Pepe for 70-odd million when you've got Saka, who's been the best player this season for Arsenal. You're blocking up pathways. Do not do that. Don't let this season go by the wayside. Use this as a real season to build.
The issue with doing that, and I hear a lot of Arsenal fans saying, just play the kids, start bringing those young players through. It's exactly what Tim is saying. The issue is that when you talked about Liverpool doing that well and perhaps bringing players through a bit earlier than they would have wanted to, is that you have the senior players around them who can absorb any mistakes and errors that they might make because they're developing players. Is that the case at Arsenal, that the senior players are going to cushion those youngsters as they come through? Because they're developing players. Is that the case at Arsenal, that the senior players are going to cushion those youngsters as they come through?
Yeah, but then you have to look at which senior players at Arsenal at the moment Can you look at, like when you look at Bruno Fernandes when he scored the goal and stopped his celebration to explain something to Daniel James? That's leadership. That is coaching on the pitch. There's not many players at Arsenal now. I could see that. You'd probably say David Luiz would probably be a player who might be able to help you while you're on there. But in the main, I don't see too many of those players on the pitch at the minute. And so, like I said, with the Joe Willocks, with the Reece Nelsons, once he's fit, and Emil Smith-Rowe, I think you ideally want to throw them in at a time, Kels, where like the Liverpool players when they come in, like Curtis Jones and Neco Williams and the guys, they feel comfortable in what they're doing, because you have got Jordan Henderson and Wijnaldum and the guys up front who do what they do and they've got success from it. You're looking at Arsenal at the moment, and without the creativity, without the being able to get the ball and progress the ball into areas where you can then set Aubameyang free to score, you know, maybe get the ball into the box more frequently for Lacazette to score, or get Pepe playing in a more productive way. We're not getting the ball to these guys. So then you're getting young players in there who are now under pressure to have to try and do that. Saka's done it amazingly. We're talking about the goal we scored against Southampton. He literally got the ball, beat 3 players, and found Aubameyang in the box. We not got that. Dani Ceballos is somebody that, you know, he looks to me like somebody who could do it, but he doesn't do it enough. He doesn't pass the ball into areas where where it might get cut out. Xhaka the same, you know. So when you're looking at it from that point of view, if you then lose a Hector Bellerin who's trying to get forward, and then people, like I saw with Villa, then get into that space and then punish us in that way.
And Tottenham.
And same thing Tottenham as well. You know, same with Tierney. When they go, people exploit. And then if you score first against Arsenal, just sit back, because there's not going to be enough creativity. And that is where the problem is. There's not enough creativity, and now players, you're seeing them, Willian, too many passes backwards for me, not enough balls going into the box. And so you look at it and you think to yourself, they are in a predicament that they do need to recognise it, and something in the pack's going to have to happen, whether it's you bring in a U-team player, bring someone, Gabriel Martinelli's coming back now, and you saw his thrust, his enthusiasm. Probably that's what we're going to need. Because at the moment, if it carries on like it is, Kels, it's looking very grim.
I feel like this is a conversation, not necessarily in terms of the details of what's happening on the pitch, but structurally at Arsenal. This feels like a conversation similar to the one that we've had about Manchester United over the years, and that, you know, you lose a powerful manager like a Wenger or a Ferguson, and then you start talking about recruitment and who's making these decisions, and are they business decisions or are they football decisions? And then you bring in a young, inexperienced ex-player as your manager, and it takes time for that to work.
When you have one guy in charge of a club and he knows what he's doing, it's an amazing system. One guy controls everything. It's all streamlined. There's no wastage because people disagree or, you know, have different agendas. The moment that person leaves and he hasn't left behind a structure with successors, with people who know what they're doing, things fall apart. And I think United, because of the financial issue, have a lot more cushion to absorb those shocks than Arsenal, who now, after 3 years out of the Champions League, cannot afford to get signings wrong. Never mind the big signings, they can't afford to get the middle signings wrong. But because they got it so wrong in this transfer window this summer, all the momentum that they had after the FA Cup win has been lost. And now I think you're really in that situation that you mentioned, Kelly, where Arteta is someone who wants to play one way, coming from a Guardiola school, sees that a team can't play like that, and then he is beginning to sort of compromise with himself and trying to find players that can sort of play a version of what he wants to play, but it's not really the kind of football that he plays. And as a result, I think we now have an Arsenal who have sort of no idea what it's supposed to be doing. I mean, I'm shocked, having seen the recent games, to see a team that just go out there and just don't feel like they have an actual structure and a game plan. You know, for Arteta and for Arsenal to have come